you. Got it. Hello, everyone. So excited for this today. So first and foremost, if you guys are not already subscribed to Circadia University, let's go ahead and do that.
CircadiaU.com.
Which I will put in the chat. I am also live streaming this into the group, and I will be pinning it to the top, right? And I will also be sending it out via newsletter, which I will put in the chat. So you guys will get all the protocols that Jewellee will be talking about today. So, boom, boom, boom. And I believe they were so nice enough to give us a discount code, which is MME, I believe, but I will triple check. It will be sent in the newsletter with the protocol, home care regimen, all of Jewellee's social media handles, her email, all the good stuff. So I always love to start off my lives by how long have you guys been estheticians and where are you watching from?
People put it in the chat or just jump on and say it?
Either. It's so fun because someone's gonna be like, I've been for 15 years. Someone's like, I graduated last week. I'm like, oh my God. See, just received my license this month.
Congratulations. That's huge.
God. That's huge.
It's a wonderful time to become an esthetician.
Oh my gosh, totally. See, 2023, congratulations. Do you remember the first time you got licensed?
My licensing was a hot mess of a situation because the board lost my entire class's applications because we were the last class that they did paper applications with. So they transitioned to digital and they lost our entire class's stuff. So we had to wait months to take our boards. It was horrible. So I had to force myself to study every day to remember the information because I wasn't able to just go right and take it.
I wish you were on pins and needles. You're like, can I just get this over with
I was stressed. I was like, please tell me I didn't do all this for nothing. And I'm a horrible test taker too, so I was not looking forward to that.
So I'm gonna give everybody 2 more minutes to hop in. You guys are
currently using Circadia. Drop that in the chat. I figure out how to pull up the chat. Oh, there we go. Oh, yes, love that. Oh, Kansas City. We were just in Kansas City doing a joint hydrofacial event.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, yeah. Serum 71 is a game changer, game changer.
I just literally bought 20 of them.
Yeah. Michael was sitting on that recipe too long. We should have had that product. It was so good. So good.
I guess that's part of it, but I was like, how would you recommend using in home care?
I use it morning and night, but I am an avid sunscreen wearer and reapplier, so I can get away with using, some acids in the morning. But that's because I'm also acneic, so I need that extra exfoliation. But most people are using it at night directly after cleansing. I usually recommend letting it sit on the skin for a minute or two before applying your other serum, so you can really let that mandelic start to desquamate, the mortar, if you will, of your skin cells. So then the rest of your serums will penetrate better.
Very cool. Let's keep chopping in. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so today we're talking about treating skin of color. And I love this because it's so many people are we didn't learn this in school, or how do I go about doing it? Hyperpigmentation, acne, how do you prep the skin? What are the do's, and especially what are the don'ts?
Yes, don'ts are going to be very, very important. I would probably say there's more do's than don'ts. I think a lot of people get really scared when it comes to treating the skin of color. But it's just skin is skin at the end of the day. It just requires a different level of care in terms of not like going straight in with more aggressive treatments. You just have to care for the skin a little more. And, outside of the actual ingredients and products that you're going to be using, there is also a lot of coaching that comes along with working with clients of color, because not only culturally, but societally, a lot of things aren't marketed towards people of color. So sometimes it's about getting them in the right mindset to understand the importance of skincare, because as a Black woman myself, I was not told that like I needed skincare. A lot of times from birth, we're like, you don't need sunscreen, you don't need any of this because we have our natural melanin and things like that. So there's a lot of miseducation that you're going to have to learn to account for. That all comes in with your consultation. So I'll talk a little bit about why your consultation is so important. I think it's a step that a lot of people tend to rush through because they just want to get into the treatment, but you should always be allocating extra time in your first encounter with your new client or patient when it comes to treating a person of color to talk about getting them to understand what their skin is doing, but also understanding the importance of using certain ingredients, because there's just a mental blockage sometimes when it comes to that. And we all know sunscreen is going to be the most important thing. So if your client isn't in a space of understanding the basic need of sunscreen, you can't really do much with them, So we'll get into all that. But hello, everybody. My name is Jewellee Williams. I am an international educator for Circadia. I actually just got back from Germany last Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. We have a European headquarters out there, so I love going out there to visit our partners. I've been working with Circadia, the actual products, for going on like 3 years now, and I've been working with the company as an educator going on 2. So I use these products in my treatment room. It is my main back bar. I was an account before I was an educator for them. So one, not only does that attest to my knowledge of using the products, because I use it every single day, I use it on myself as well, but working so closely with the company really gave me a different perspective. And I'm so lucky to have somebody like, Michael Pugliese and our other educators as mentors and colleagues, because I learned so much from them all the time. As a woman of color, I definitely felt that lack in education when I was in school. They don't really talk about the melanocyte as much as they should. It's a super important cell, not only because it's what gives us, the pigment, which makes us look different from other people, but it's truly the superhero of your skin. It's what protects your skin from UV damage, from cancer. It's kind of like the last line of defense, if you will, for your skin. So for your true skin, which is your dermal layer. So I think understanding the basic anatomy and physiology of skin is going to be key, because a lot of times what happens is we look to these brands to provide products that help with pigmentation or melanin suppressing, activities, but that's really not it. Like, you just really need to understand what the actual cell does to understand how to work with it. So I'm going to go through a little bit of in-treatment protocols. I'm going to go through a little bit of like prep for skin of color. We're going to talk a little bit about inflammation and how that is usually the source of a lot of pigmentation in your clients of color. And then we're going to talk a little bit about home care that we can use to help your clients maintain the results and also prepare them for any advanced treatments that you may do in the treatment room. I definitely want to leave some time for Q&A. So if you have any questions, please put them in the box. Maria will be watching that. I'll be watching that. I definitely want to make sure I can answer as many questions as possible. Some things I may answer without you having to ask. So with all that being said, skin of color, what does that mean? So I want to make sure that all of you are very clear that a person of color can look many different ways. It's not just Black or white all the time that we're talking about. There are clients who may appear to be fits 2 or 3 who may have skin that reacts like a 6 or a 5. So it's really important to have a consultation. That is the first place that you need to start before you can create any type of treatment plan for a client. So my consultation looks a little bit like talking about their lifestyle, talking about their allergies, but most specifically talking about how their skin reacts when it's in the sun. We all know this as Fitzpatrick scale. That's what we're taught in school, but it's really important to understand that in today's society, we have to go beyond the Fitzpatrick scale. You can no longer look at somebody and decide what Fitzpatrick they are. You can't even just ask a simple question like, do you burn or do you not burn? There's so much more involved in that, because thankfully we are now in a place where people can intermingle. We've or we have people who are interracial, you know what I mean? So, I have friends who are Black and white, but may appear, more white or more Black. So it's not as easy as just what you see when they first walk into your treatment room. So when I'm asking questions about burning, I want to know how long it takes for them to start tanning. I want to learn if they're the type that just gets freckling and then everywhere else on their body still stays pretty burned, or if they're tanning all over, if they're getting full tan. I want to know how much time they spend in the sun. I want to know where their work environment is, because if there's somebody who works in an office with a lot of windows, or if their home office is situated in a lot of windows, that's going to require an extra level of care, especially when it comes to treating pigmentation that's presenting in the skin and preventing future pigmentation. So don't be afraid to ask your clients a lot of questions. I live in Philadelphia. We have a beach an hour and 10 minutes away from us. So most of my clients, whether there's people of color or not, are spending all summer long at the beach. So this is all information that you need to learn, because there may be times where you need to switch their home care throughout the seasons if you're living somewhere that has multiple seasons, or like yourself in California where it's mostly sunny all the time. I'm going to give them a different home regimen than somebody who lives in Alaska or, New England. So really getting to know your client and their habits is going to be super important. I touched a little bit about cultural differences. That's very important too. If you have a client who is of an ethnic background, who tends to use more natural ingredients, typically you'll find those in more Middle Eastern countries and more of African descent. We tend to navigate towards using Black soap, especially my Black girls, we know, we're raised on a Black soap and using that in everything, or using oils, or using more natural ingredients like raw turmeric and things like that. So I need to know if you've ever actually used a professionally formulated product before, because that's going to be a different price point for you, because it is not going to cost the same as buying Black soap at your local, farmer's market. So we're gonna have to talk a little bit about budget when it comes to caring for skin of color, and also how much time they have in their routine. Because if they're a person who does not have a lot of time to do their skincare, then there's no point in you giving them a 7-step regimen. That's just not gonna work for them, and they're not gonna stick to it. The best skincare is the skincare that people are actually going to use. So you have to really get familiar with your clients' lifestyles when you're creating an at-home regimen for them. Otherwise, they're just not going to use the products. And then when you go to do your treatments, such as microneedling, laser, if you do that, LED, if you use that, whatever advanced modality you choose to use, you're going to have adverse reactions because your client was not obedient at home. So making sure that you spend some time in that initial consultation, explain to them, we can create a 10-minute routine for you, or we can create a 30-minute routine for you, depending on how much time you have at home. What else in consultations? Obviously sunscreen. We talked about the importance of sunscreen. I tell every new client and every client that I get, if you are not going to wear sunscreen, then we can't work together. That's just an honest conversation that you have to have with people. I know there's a couple newer people in here. It's going to be a little intimidating to have that conversation when you're first starting and you're just trying to get clients, but you are the esthetician and you are responsible for the results that you get. So do you want a book of clients who aren't going to listen to you? You're never going to get those great before and afters. You're never going to get those great transformations if you aren't confident in delivering that message to them. So working a little bit on your confidence and expanding your knowledge through taking trainings like this. Circadia has an entire university now, which we're building out more and more as time goes on, watching videos and modules that talk a little bit more about the products that we're using in treatment. That's going to be super essential. Continued education is fundamental in your aesthetics career. So yeah, that was my little soapbox spiel. So we'll jump into the product. So one of my favorite things about working with Circadia is that pretty much, I think 99.9% of our products can be used on all skin of color. So I think the Jesner peel is probably the only peel that we tend to stay away from. And the Dermafrost 25. Those are the only 2 products that I can think of that I haven't used on myself. I try every product on myself before I ever put it on my clients, because I want to see how my skin reacts to it. But it's so important to work with a brand that has a variety of SKUs for all skin types, because as they go through their journey, they're going to need to, level up, or sometimes if they're going through a period where their barriers compromised, they're going to have to pull back. So you need stuff that's on the sensitive end, up into, the people who are using 1.5% vitamin A every single night. So I love the range of products that we carry and the fact that I can give them to any client, no matter what their skin type or condition is. The first place that you're going to obviously start treating their skin is in the treatment room. So they come to you, you're looking at them and you're deciding, okay, we're going to create a treatment plan to help you achieve whatever goal it is, whether it's anti-aging, whether it's dealing with pigmentation, whether it's dealing with fine lines and wrinkles or acne. We're going to decide what your main concern is. So you may have clients of color who are dealing with PIH already. They have that post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation that they're trying to remove. You may have some clients that are more focused on their fine lines and wrinkles, and you want to prep them for chemical peels and microneedling. They're going to need to be treated a very different way. So when you are dealing with clients who have pigmentation present, specifically clients of color who have pigmentation present, you're going to need to work on getting that pigmentation out of the skin, but simultaneously making sure that you're suppressing any melanocyte extracurricular activity, I call it, because our melanocyte is going to function every day the same way, no matter what. We're making sure that we're suppressing that activity at the same time. If you're dealing with a client who is just trying to address fine lines and wrinkles, maybe skin elasticity, that is going to be better treated in their home care. So you need to know what goes where, which products go where. So we have created a protocol. We're going to be sending this out that you can use in the treatment room, both for treating pigmentation that's already existing in the skin and helping to prevent future pigmentation. So let's talk a little bit about the melanocyte cell. So your melanocyte cell is a dendritic cell, which means it has finger-like extensions. It can reach through the different layers of the epidermis. It can inject pigment into cells at many different layers in the epidermis. One fun fact, all of us, every single one of us on this call has the same exact amount of melanocyte cells. So that's going to be your mother cell, the melanocyte cell. We all have the same exact amount of them. What differs is the amount and the size of the melanosomes that we produce. That is what is going to give you your melanin. There's different types of melanin. There's pheomelanin, there's eumelanin. One is going to be more of a reddish brownish tint, which you're going to see in your clients who have red hair and or like the brown freckling. The other type is going to be a brown pigment, which is going to typically present as PIH. It's also important to know what PIH looks like in non-skin of color. So that's going to present more like PIE, post-inflammatory erythema. So that's going to look red. A lot of people will see that and think that they need to treat it like inflammation because they see redness, they think erythema, they think calming. No, it actually is pigment that needs to be treated the same exact way. So making sure that you can identify what type of pigment you're dealing with is going to be super important. So melanosomes, what are they? That's literally what gives our skin the pigment. They can be large, they can be small, they can be melanin positive, melanin negative. One fun fact is a client that looks like me and a client who is of Asian descent, we actually produce a similar amount of melanosomes. They vary in size and they vary in pigment positive or pigment negative. So we're going to look completely different, but our skin is going to function the same. And that's why I said it's important to be able to understand that skin of color isn't just people who look like me. So your melanocyte, what is its function? Its function is literally to protect the dermal layer of your skin. So where your melanocyte lies, the bottom of your epidermis. So you've got your dermal epidermal junction. So its main function is to protect that dermal layer, which has your nerve endings, your blood vessels, your collagen, your elastin, different types of that, closer to your subcutaneous fat that's in the skin. That's all going on in that second layer of the skin, or what we call the true skin. So anytime trauma is introduced to your skin, to your epidermis, it's going to wake up your melanocyte cell because your body is an immune organ. It has responses. So its natural desire is to stop anything from getting inside of it. So, which is typically our UV damage, which is one of the main causes of our PIH. So understanding that the cell, its natural response is to create pigment to protect the second layer of the skin is going to be important for you as an esthetician to understand, but also your clients, because a lot of times what we tie PIH, post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, to it's vanity. We think, oh, I don't want this color on my skin. I don't want my skin to be an uneven skin tone. You have to set realistic expectations for your clients. You cannot walk through your aesthetics career thinking that somebody's never going to get PIH. They are. But what is important is that we're making sure that we're giving them the ingredients to support the healing, the natural healing responses of your skin, of your epidermis, which is what it does. It literally heals your body. It can close up a wound super fast. It's so incredibly cool. So we have to stop trying to stop our body's natural functions, just because we want our clients to have that even skin tone. So now what happens to me, I'm an acne person. When I get a blemish, because I'm on the right home care, which I'll tell you guys what I'm using a little bit later, when I get that PAH, it goes away within a matter of a couple days. Now, that never used to happen to me. I used to get a blemish, I would get a pigmentation spot, and it would last for months. But now we're talking within a couple of days to a couple of weeks, it's leaving because I'm using ingredients that are helping my cells to proliferate. They're helping those cells to work their way up to the surface of the skin so that I can exfoliate them off. It's also important to remember how thin your epidermis is, guys. Okay, your epidermis is as thin as a piece of paper. It is so thin. So even though it's so complex in the layers that it has, it's going to have responses very fast because that's the point. We need to know immediately if something is an intruder in our body. So UV damage, you're going to tan very fast because your body needs to let you know that there is a trauma being done and you need to get out the sun. So it's really important to deliver the message to your clients that as soon as they start tanning, that is their body screaming for help, essentially. I'm very dramatic. I like to scare my clients a lot. So I will tell them like, yo, your body's literally screaming for help. Get out of the sun, listen to it. I also make sure to tell my clients that our bodies are extremely intelligent. So we should not be trying to stop its responses. We need to listen to them. That's the important part. So what listening to your body's responses means, if you're seeing inflammation, there's something going on. You need to address whatever is going on internally or externally. If you're seeing PIH, there's something going on internally and there's something going on externally. I think it would behoove you guys if I say that understanding hormones is going to be very important in treating skin of color as well, because there are some things that present more in women of color, specifically PCOS. Unfortunately, no matter what skincare you use, we can't outrun the effects of hormones changes and influxes. So if your client's on a medication, if your client's experiencing something like PCOS, you may have to work in conjunction with a dermatologist or with a gynecologist actually to figure out a treatment plan for them. But then that's again going to be a mindset thing, because you have to let them know this is something that you are going to chronically deal with, the same way acne. You will chronically have acne for as long as you can, but we can work together to suppress the appearance, of the effects of that. So definitely understanding that there's going to be some things that you just can't fix. I just like to be honest. And like I said, always set realistic expectations for my clients. So back to your melanocyte cell. So there is a huge pathway that happens before that pigment even enters the cell, enters that epithelial cell. So basically it starts here. There's an enzyme that's going to trigger that melanocyte to become active. We all know that as tyrosinase. So that enzyme is going to then trigger a cascade of events that's going to happen way before, again, that pigment even gets into the cell. So when we're talking about home care specifically with treating skin of color, you need to make sure that you have ingredients that are stopping the pigmentation pathway at multiple points of its journey. So when we're talking about tyrosinase inhibitors, that's not what's going to brighten the skin. That's not what's going to lighten the skin. That's what's going to stop that communication between the enzyme and between the pigmentation pathway process. So tyrosinase inhibitors are great. That's something that me personally, as a person of color, I'm going to be on that forever. I'm always going to be using my licorice and berry brightening mist. I'm always going to be using my vitamin C reversal serum until I die. Die hard fan. So just saying that. So we're gonna start with stopping that initial conversation. Think of it as a conversation. The way that I got really good at understanding skin was I thought of it as like a movie or like a TV show or personal journey. Like everything has a story. Every part of your skin has a purpose and a role that it's going to play. So we're stopping that initial communication between whatever you want to call it, the director and the actor, however you want to think of it. Then there's another thing that happens, and then another thing that happens. We have a great pigmentation class that Michael teaches at the trade shows. It's free. Please attend if you can, because he has a really great visual that explains the pigmentation pathway. So we're stopping that initial conversation. Then we have ingredients that are going to stop this part. Then we have ingredients that are going to stop this part, and then stop this part. So from beginning to the end, Circadia has a product that is going to help at every single point of that pigmentation pathway. So ingredients that you can use to stop that initial conversation, our licorice and berry brightening mist is going to be incredible when we're talking about home care. Our raspberry enzyme is going to be incredible at being a tyrosinase inhibitor. Our white veil brightener, that's going to be another product that's going to be incredible at being a tyrosinase inhibitor. Our amendola milk cleanser, another product that's great. So that's all, again, we're just talking about that initial communication between the tyrosine enzyme and between the pigmentation pathway process. Now, where a lot of people mess up is they only stop at that part. They stop at the tyrosinase inhibitor. They think that's enough to treat their skin of color. So we have a product called Bright White Serum, and we also have the White Veil Brightener. Now, those two together in conjunction are going to stop the beginning, the middle, and the end. The end process is when your melanosome gets transferred into the cell. So we call that the melanosome transfer between the pigment and then the pigment getting into the cell. One ingredient that is extremely slept on is niacinamide. Niacinamide is incredible for stopping that pigmentation from getting into the cell. So again, there's so many things that happen. I really, really highly recommend, if you are in the treatment room, having a diagram of the skin. I use our advanced skin treatment, what is it? Advanced revision textbook, whatever, the one that Dr. Pugliese wrote. It's a very long name, but I use that because it has a fold out in it that has all the different layers of the epidermis. So that way I can give my clients a visual explanation of what's going on in their skin, because to them, they don't realize how thin their epidermis is. So all they see is the pigment that happened. They didn't realize that there was 18,000 other things that happened before that pigment even got there, or let alone that pigment can also just stay there as well. So if you're not using your home care and helping those pigmented cells to come to the surface so you can exfoliate them, then you're going to have that pigmentation forever. So if you have a client that's like, I've had this brown spot, I've had this black spot on my skin forever, and they're not using any type of vitamin A and they're not exfoliating their skin, then it's just not going to go away. So so now your pigment has entered your cell. We've gone through that whole pigmentation pathway. That pigment has now entered the cell. It's just going to stay there. And because the cell is dendritic, it's got those finger-like extensions, it can insert pigment at multiple different layers through the epidermis. So it's very hard to treat pigmentation because we don't know where in the layers of the epidermis that pigment is actually residing. It could be all the way at the bottom, it could be in the middle, it could be at the top. So you're also going to need ingredients that are able to pull pigment from the skin or brighten and lighten the skin, as well as, like I said, those cell proliferators that are going to move those pigmentation or the pigmented cells up to the surface of the skin. So using vitamin A is going to be very essential in treating skin of color. A lot of people are terrified of retinol, they're terrified of vitamin A. It is all about the introduction of the ingredient into the skin. So that leads me to talk about why you have to have a level of prep with treating clients of color. So what prep means is basically introducing active ingredients and those tyrosinase inhibitors to your client's home care. So that way, when you do more advanced treatments, that you're not going to get that immediate response of pigmentation, or you won't get as much pigmentation as would possibly happen without the support of those ingredients, such as lactic acid, mandelic acid, niacinamide. We've got a couple of trademark ingredients, Seppi White, Be White, vitamin A, things like that. So we're basically introducing these ingredients into the client's skin. So that way the melanocyte cell, I call it like the chill pill. We're basically giving the melanocyte the chill pill. So when we are introducing trauma, because that's what we do as estheticians, we create controlled trauma to the skin to incite our body's natural healing mechanism. So when we're introducing that trauma to the skin, the melanocyte isn't as quick to respond. So prep time is going to depend. If your client has never, ever used a single professional product or a product in life, you're going to have to start them very small, which really will probably mean repairing their barrier first. You always want to make sure that your clients of color skin is hydrated first and foremost. A lot of times, especially if you have acne and skin of color, they're going to turn to really dry ingredients, salicylic acid, benzoyl peroxide, things that are going to strip the barrier of its natural lipids. So your first order of business is to make sure that their hydration levels are up to par where they need to be. So that's going to be introducing ingredients such as the vitamin veil cleanser, which is wonderful for helping to restore the barrier. Blueberry and white tea hydrating mist. We've got our post peel balm, which is incredibly an occlusive moisturizer that allows your skin to retain moisture and not deal with transepidermal water loss. We've got our Hydrolox oil. We've got our Amendola milk cleanser. Lactic and mandelic acids together helps to increase the level of GAGs, glycosaminoglycans in the skin, which is what helps to produce water in the basal layer, which then goes through the aquaporin channels in our skin onto the surface of our skin, and then it evaporates. So as we're aging, we want to make sure we're slowing down that TEWL process by using occlusive ingredients to lock moisture into the skin. So once you've then repaired their barrier, if that's something that you have to do, then we're going to start introducing those tyrosinase inhibitors to the skin and acids as well, because we need to talk about exfoliation. So the Amendola milk I'm sorry, I will definitely slow down. I'm sorry. The Amendola milk cleanser was my gateway drug into Circadia. That was the first product I ever purchased because, as I mentioned, I am acneic and I was dealing with extreme hyperpigmentation all along my cheeks, forehead, and chin, hyper and hypopigmentation. So I needed something that was going to hydrate my skin because I was ignorant as well and went right to salicylic and stripped all the oils from my skin, which was causing my skin to overproduce oil to overcompensate for that lack of lipids in the skin. So I was, wondering why my pigmentation was getting worse and worse. And it was because my skin was extremely dehydrated. Our skin is happiest when it's hydrated and kept out of the sun. So we need to start basic skincare 101. Keep your skin hydrated and keep it out of the sun, no matter what Fitzpatrick you are. So introducing tyrosinase inhibitors allowed me to get rid of the pigmentation that kept coming from the blemishes that I was experiencing while I was healing my skin from all the acne breakouts that I was having. So you repair their barrier. Now we're going to introduce these tyrosinase inhibitors. So some wonderful products that we have for that: the Amendola milk cleanser, which has that lactic and mandelic acid, which both act as tyrosinase inhibitors and exfoliants for the skin and hydrators for the skin. We've got the licorice and bearberry brightening mist that has licorice and bearberry, which are also both tyrosinase inhibitors. It also has something called Mary Moist, so it's got a natural hydrating ingredient as well. So again, tyrosinase and hydration in all steps. I started using our white veil brightener, which to me is such a superior product because not only does it help to prevent pigmentation, but it actually helps to lighten pigmentation in the skin. So you'll notice an evening of your skin tone after about 30 days of use. Also our bright white serum, which is meant to be used as a spot treatment only in the PM because it can cause photosensitivity. So bright white was helping with the individualized PIH that I was experiencing from the breakout. So that's actually typically what I use at home. And then we also have our vitamin A boosting cream, which I layer over top of our nighttime repair. So that's my cell proliferation. So I'm moving those pigmented cells up to the surface. And not only does vitamin A help with that, but it also helps to protect the DNA of your skin cells. So what happens when UV damage penetrates through your epidermis? It causes heat, it causes energy in the skin. And that's really what I want you guys to think of heat as. Heat is just energy. Anytime there's an overabundance of energy, it's going to cause a reaction in your skin because we're not meant to have all that radiation in our skin. So that's going to wake up your melanocyte cell. It's going to alert it that it needs to go into action and become almost an umbrella for the dermal layer of your skin. So it's not always just sun. Sometimes it's heat as well that can cause hyperpigmentation. So I stopped taking super hot showers. I take more lukewarm showers now. So you're going to have to tell your clients that as well. No more steaming in the shower, because a lot of times people are ignorant and they think that steam opens their pores because that's what social media has told them. So reducing the amount of heat exposure to your skin is going to be super important too. And then also making sure that I was wearing sunscreen. Luckily, my mom taught me at a very young age that sunscreen was super important. So I always have worn it, but I love our light day sunscreen because unfortunately, many products don't provide that non-white cast. A lot of zinc will leave the white cast on the skin. So as soon as I found the light day SPF, I fell in love because it gives me a glow, but it also gives me that broad spectrum UV protection. So using a broad spectrum sunscreen is going to be very important because we want to make sure that we're protecting not only from UVA rays, which is going to cause the breakdown of the collagen and elastin in our skin, but the UVB rays, which is going to cause that burning, cause that cancer in our skin cells and our melanocyte cell. So from start to finish, we're talking about repairing the moisture in the skin. We're talking about introducing tyrosinase inhibitors and brightening ingredients into the skin. And then we're talking about protecting the skin, both from free radical damage, which our vitamin C reversal serum is amazing for, and also from the UV damage, which our light day sunscreen is incredible for. So I kind of just gave you a brief overview of what I'm using, but those products are safe for all Fitzpatricks, but you're really going to want to make sure that your Fitz 3 through 6 are incorporating some of those into their home care, if not all of them. into their home care. Circadia also has a brightening bundle that we often will sell at the trade show. So you can get all of those home care products and you can package them up yourself. You can put them in a little bag or wrap a little ribbon around them. So that way your clients have a routine, basically a prepackaged routine that they can use at home. Home care to me is way more important than anything that you can do in a treatment room. If you're dealing with clients who are specifically on a budget, I tell them I would much prefer them to spend their money on the home care than I would on professional treatments. Maybe come to me every other month if they can swing that. But if it's a budget issue that you're dealing with, home care is going to be the most important because we are exposed to the sun every single day. So our melanocytes, again, are functioning every single day. So your skin needs to be treated every day. Okay, sorry, I know I said a mouthful. I know I don't want to keep everybody too late because we still have to get Q&A and go through protocol. So sorry,
So I did put the protocol, the PDF in the chat.
Oh, perfect, perfect. So yeah, so
if you guys want to go to the chat, click on it, and it literally says every ingredient she just named. I mean, every product, excuse me.
Also, again, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the chat room. So we'll talk a little bit about the protocol now, and then I'll kind of touch back on home care in a little bit, but we love mixology at Circadia. That is literally one of our favorite things to do. We've really been centering a lot of our marketing around our ability to cocktail all of our products to whether we're trying to boost the efficacy of them or whether we're trying to reduce the intensity of the treatment. So no matter where your client is at in their journey, from their first facial to their 20,000th facial, we've got a protocol that you can do with them. So I'll kind of walk you guys a little bit through the protocol and talk about why each product is great. If I'm looking to the sides, because I have it pulled up here. But basically most of our Circadia facials are going to start with our vitamin veil cleanser. So our vitamin veil cleanser is a soybean oil based cleanser. It also has cranberry extract in it. It also has tocopherol, which is a fat soluble form of vitamin E. So it's going to be amazing for wound healing. It's going to be amazing for helping to prevent the production of collagenase and elastase, which are the enzymes that our body creates to dissolve old collagen and elastin. It's also going to be super hydrating for the skin. So I talked about the importance of hydration in the skin. Also, we talk about things like polarity. Oil and oil, they like each other. Oil and water do not like each other. So when our body is creating its natural sebum, if you're just applying water to the skin, you're not actually removing the oil from the skin. So having an oil-based cleanser is going to be tremendously effective in removing that excess oil off of your skin. So usually we'll start with our vitamin veil cleanser, and then we'll remove that with our lipid replacing cleansing gel as our second cleanse. So lipid is an amazing product, both for home care and in the treatment room, because it has the ability to degrease the skin without stripping the skin of its natural oil. So for my clients who are coming off of Aveeno or Neutrogena or Cetaphil, this is typically the cleanser that I will retail to them first. I tell them this is their introduction into professional skincare. So we use a gentle surfactant called Step and Mild. So Step and Mild, what's going to give that foaming effect, is also going to remove any debris, dirt, more excess oil off of the skin, again, without stripping the barrier. And then we use something called Sasha Ink and Peanut to help replace the lipids in the skin. So that's why it's lipid replacing cleansing gel. Now, me personally, if I'm dealing with a client of color and pigmentation is our focus, I'm also going to probably grab for our Amendola milk cleanser over the lipid, depending on their skin type, because of that lactic and mandelic. So it has the ability to hydrate the skin because it's a milk cleanser, but I'm already starting the brightening process in that second step. The Amendola milk cleanser is super cool because as a home care ingredient or in the treatment room, you can leave it on the skin a little bit longer to let those acids really penetrate through the epidermis. So I use it at home and I leave it on while I brush my teeth. So that's something you can tell your clients to do. And then in the treatment room, it can be used to boost some of our enzymes. So you could use the Amendola along with our cocoa enzyme, our raspberry enzyme, or you could use it to remove the enzyme as well, or you could add it into our mask. Sorry, 1 second.
What do you mean boost? So you leave it on and then you put the cocoa enzyme?
So you could put the cocoa enzyme on first and then add a layer of the amendola on top of it, massage that in and let that sit. Or you can use it to activate the cocoa with like our licorice and bearberry brightening mist. So again, that's all like advanced mixology, but that's a way to give that AHA exfoliation to an ingredient that may not have had that.
And what is the benefit of that?
So your alpha hydroxy acids are going to denature different proteins than your enzymes. So enzymes are only going to denature a certain amount of proteins. Really, I like to describe them as Pac-Men. So they're really great at dissolving the surface protein, but acids have the ability to denature almost any protein that they come into contact with. So that's when we're really truly creating space between our cells. Like I said, dissolving that mortar. I love to talk about skin as brick and mortar. So dissolving that mortar between the skin cells so that any other products that we put on are really going to penetrate through the epidermis.
Yummy.
So, yeah, so the amendola is great for multiple steps in the treatment, or you can use it to start. So sometimes I'll apply that as the second cleanse. I'll put a warm towel, let it sit there for like a minute, and then I'll remove it. So then that's like your first like mini exfoliation. Now, when it comes to home care, it's important to let your clients know that they are getting a gentle exfoliation when using this cleanser. This is not a true deep exfoliation for their skin, because a lot of times you'll ask them, do you exfoliate? They'll be like, well, I use the amendola milk cleanser. Well, unless you're letting it sit on your skin for long enough, it's not truly giving you the type of exfoliation that you would think, because any acid that's suspended in a base, whether it's a gel peel or the milk or the almond milk base of that cleanser, it's basically like buffered. It has to slowly work its way through that base before it even hits your skin. So you're going to get very, very superficial exfoliation. Mostly the dullness of your skin will go away. But to get a true professional treatment, that's when we're really, really like I said, creating controlled trauma in the skin with those acids. But we are able to do that because we also know how to rebalance the skin as well. I don't really trust my clients too much with a lot of exfoliation at home. So yeah, so that's the second step sometimes. So then we're going to go into our first level of exfoliation. If it's a new client, I typically like to start them with our enzymes because they're much gentler. A lot of people aren't used to the sensation of a chemical exfoliant, so they may tell you that it's burning when it's not. Our enzymes are also easily able to regulate because you can like leave them on for 5 minutes, or you can leave them on for 20 minutes, depending on how much time you have and how much of an exfoliation you want to get. So we've got 3 different types of enzymes in the Circadia line. We've got our cocoa enzyme, which has a raw Hershey cocoa powder in it. It smells delicious if you've ever tried it. That enzyme is going to be more geared towards your sensitive clients. Cocoa's naturally anti-inflammatory. So I love using that on my acneic clients, any of my clients that are presenting with erythema, my clients who's their first facial ever, my clients who I'm working on calming inflammation in the skin, or if I did something in addition, like dermaplaning, I'll usually go for the cocoa instead of one of the other enzymes, unless they're a client that I've worked on for a while. So we've also got our raspberry enzyme. Now, raspberry enzyme is typically where I'll start with my clients of color, because raspberry seed is a natural form of an azelaic acid. So azelaic acid is a very large molecular structured acid. It penetrates very gently into the skin, but it works greatly for brightening the skin, brightening pigmentation in the skin. So no, it does not smell like raspberry. If you have purchase this enzyme, it's not going to smell like raspberry. It's the raspberry seed that is in this enzyme. And then we have my favorite, and I think the most on Circadia enzyme, the zymase enzyme. That is a triple vitamin C. It's got ascorbic acid, it's got citric acid, and it has lemon peel in it. So it's got 3 different forms of vitamin C. We all know vitamin C works great for brightening the skin, but it also is kind of a powerhouse in that it helps with collagen production in the skin, and it's giving us that level of antioxidant support. So I think it's like a knockout. I think that product is great for everybody because it treats multiple different skin concerns. But between the raspberry and the zymase, those are usually what I'm grabbing for if I'm treating pigmentation in a client of color. Vitamin C gently can be a tyrosinase inhibitor, but it's better for brightening the skin than for that tyrosinase inhibiting activity. So between the azelaic and the vitamin C, you're getting brightening, firming, and pigmentation suppressing activity. So then those are just the three enzymes we have. As I mentioned, if you want to boost them, you can add the almond milk cleanser, which will give that AHA exfoliation in addition to the enzymatic exfoliation. If you've got a client who you've been working on for a while, or you're just ready to test the waters and try something new. And our enzymes come in a powder form and in a wet form. So the reason that we do that is to make sure you're getting consistent efficacy every single time you use our enzyme. Because if we were to have it pre-mixed, enzymes have the ability to cannibalize themselves, which means they get weaker and weaker and weaker every time you open the jar. So we want to make sure you're getting the same level of exfoliation every single time you mix them. But that also leaves space for mixology, as I mentioned before. So we've got our licorice and bearberry brightening mist, which is a wonderful tyrosinase inhibitor and skin brightener. You can mix that in. It just has to be wet. So what I do is I'll unscrew the cap of it and I'll use a little measuring spoon. And sometimes I will use that instead of the activator that comes with the enzyme. If you haven't, we're going to be putting more mixology on Circadia U, but if you haven't found us at a trade show, please do. We have a wonderful treatment guidebook that I can give you. I work most of the trade shows that has all of our mixology in it as well, and it will be on Circadia U too. So don't think this is the only place you can find this information.
So there was a quick question. Are we spot treating hyperpigmentation, or are the products for all over?
Everything is for all over. Because if you think about it, the cells that are underneath of that pigmentation are your normal pigmented cells. So once that pigment inserts the cell, it's just in there. So either we're killing the pigment in the cell using something like laser, or we don't really use hydroquinone anymore. That's only like skin lightener. Or we're just making that cell go up to the surface so we can exfoliate it off. So I always like to make sure that we're always treating full face. The only product that we have for a spot treatment is going to be the bright white serum. And I saw some, how do I pull up the chat? I saw somebody just asked,
would this be ideal for melasma as well?
Absolutely. The bright white serum is wonderful for melasma, especially like in pregnant clients. Melasma is a really tricky thing because it's not really curable. So again, it's all about just suppressing the appearance of the pigmentation in the cells. But melasma clients need to stay away from heat. They need to stay away from a lot of different things. Sorry, my phone keeps ringing now. So yeah, unfortunately there's damage done to those melanocyte cells. So it's really hard to like get rid of it completely, but we can brighten it. Most of my clients that have melasma, I have on the almond milk cleanser and the licorice and bearberry for sure every single day. And then, where was I at? Okay, so back to exfoliation. So those are just the enzymes that we have. There's also some acids that we can use in their treatment that will help with pigmentation as well. So we've got our lactic 30, 35 and 45. So those are going to be gel-based peels. If you've never worked with chemical peels before, gel-based peels are exactly where you want to start because they're safe enough that even the least experienced esthetician can use them. And kind of like with the enzymes, you have control over the depth that the acid goes into the skin. So you could leave it on for 3 minutes, which sometimes I do with my hydrofacial, or you could leave it on for 15 to 20 minutes, depending on how much of an exfoliation you want to give. When I said in the beginning that there's more do's than don'ts with treating skin of color, the reason for that is our skin just has to be, it has to be worked with, not against. So you can't just go straight in with aggressive treatments. We literally have to kind of coax the melanocyte cell, like I said, give it some chill pills so it just relaxes, because it's only going to do its job, you guys. Like the reason that hydroquinone is not like used a lot is because it can stop the pigmentation pathway at multiple points. But think about it in general. If you suppress a natural response too much, just like with waxing, how you can get traction alopecia, which is kind of the ideal situation with waxing. But if you suppress something's activity too much, it will stop functioning. And if our melanocyte cell stops functioning, that is a problem. So we do not want to stop that activity all the time. We just want to calm it down. We don't want it to be so overreactive, which we really should call it overpigmentation, because that's all it is. So yeah, it's just, you have to work with the skin, not against it. So that's why I like to talk about the different levels of mixology and the different levels of starting your clients with home care and working their way up, because we're just slowly introducing these things into the skin. it's important to remember that our skin is a barrier organ. It does not want anything to go in it. Which is why using natural skincare doesn't work, because our skin won't accept it. It's literally going to do its damnedest to keep stuff out of it. Even water, if you think about it, our skin even has a water barrier. That's why you don't absorb every single droplet of water that goes into your skin. Our skin has an oxygen barrier because oxygen is a free radical. It's an unstable molecule. So our body will do anything in its power to keep stuff out of it. But once something does penetrate through the epidermis, that's why you have your Langerhans cells. That's why you have your, immune cells, your Merkel cells, all those cells are just to kind of alert you and say something is going on that you need to address. So as I spoke about in the consultation, you really have to have honest conversations with your clients that skincare, this is skin health. Okay, we're not talking about, it is cosmetic because it is about the way that we appear to the world, but this is truly about the health of your skin. We want your skin to keep functioning properly, and that's it. Me, I don't care if I get PIH anymore, because I know that's probably my fault. I probably did something to get that PIH. So making sure that your client's mindset and that your mindset is right about why pigmentation happens and understanding pigmentation is going to be key to having confidence with treating skin of color. It's really not hard, guys. Like, if you went to aesthetic school, you learned everything that you needed to learn about skin histology, skin anatomy, skin physiology. A cell is going to be a cell. But understanding that you can't just go in strong with everything because you want that great before and after, stop letting that be the goal. The goal is that your skin is now healing itself better, and it has all the support that it needs to heal itself when trauma does happen, because it's going to happen. None of us are flawless. There's no such thing as flawless skin. That's my little rant, sorry. But I say, so back to exfoliation. So we've got our lactic gel peels. I love gel peels because they're safe for year-round use. I just posted on my story that I did one on a client of color the other day. Depending on the level of the gel peel, it gets lower in pH as we get higher in the number. So 30 is gonna have the highest pH, 45 is gonna have the lowest pH. Understanding pH is also going to be super important in treating your skincare journey, because we all know that our skin sits at a certain pH, that 4.5 to 5.5. Anytime we alter the pH of the skin, we need to make sure that we're rebalancing it back to its original pH. The skin does have the ability to do this on its own, but we want to make sure we're assisting it in that process so that our barrier is intact at all times. So the lower the pH of a product, the faster it's going to penetrate into the skin, the deeper it's going to go into the skin. So with the lactic 45, you don't have to leave that on as long as you would the lactic 30 to get the same level of treatment. So you could leave the lactic 30 on for 20 minutes, or you could leave the lactic 45 on for 5 minutes, and you're going to get a similar level of exfoliation. So when I'm retailing at the trade shows, I'll typically start people at a 35, because you can always leave it on for less time, or you can always leave it on for more time if you're a little more afraid of using lower pH products.
So there was a couple of questions. Do you prefer a combo of vitamin C and the vitamin A serum for pigmentation for ethnic skin, or vitamin C and the whitening serum?
All three, they're very different. So our vitamin A products, we use a retinol palmitate. It's a very gentle form of vitamin A. I know there's a lot of social media stuff going around like, don't use vitamin C and vitamin A together. Crock of SHIT. It depends on the form of the ingredient. Like, there are so many different types of ingredients. You guys, please do not listen to these TikTok people. Like, oh my God, it drives me nuts, because we actually have a product, our vitamin A, our Nighttime Repair Plus has a form of vitamin C and vitamin A in the same formulation. So it is not the truth that you can't use vitamin C and vitamin A together. What you don't want to use is pure retinoic acid, or like a retin-A or a tretinoin with an L-ascorbic acid, because of the pH of the product. It's too aggressive. So, and it's going to cause irritation in the skin. But you could use our vitamin C, which is a magnesium ascorbyl phosphate, which is a very bioavailable form of vitamin C, which means our body accepts it because we've paired this ascorbic molecule with a phosphate and with a magnesium molecule. So it it kind of looks like a Mickey Mouse ear, literally, or Mickey Mouse. It enters the skin gently, and then it disposes of the magnesium and the phosphate molecule and acts as ascorbic acid in the skin. And then we've got our retinol palmitate and our retinol acetate in our products, which are forms of vitamin A, which turn into retinoic acid in the body. So instead of putting them on the body topically in their purest forms, which is going to cause major irritation and probably burning, we're letting the body create those and use those available ingredients inside of the epidermis. So it's all about the entry pathway into the skin when it comes to ingredients. So you absolutely need the vitamin C, you absolutely need the vitamin A, and you absolutely need the bright white serum all together.
How would you recommend they use it in a protocol, morning or night, or like
exactly.
both?
I was going to say that next. So the way that you're going to introduce that to your clients is you're going to use the the vitamin C reversal serum in the AM. Your body is going to take that and it's going to work it through the cellular matrix, and it's going to, in the mitochondria of the cell, it's going to use everything that it needs, and then it's going to dispose of that. At nighttime, you're then going to use our vitamin A, or whether it's the Nighttime Repair Plus or the vitamin A boosting cream, or together, you're going to use that, because what that actually has the ability to do is it has the ability to regenerate the vitamin C that's in the cell. So now in the morning, vitamin C is going to be best used as a free radical scavenger. It's going to help to prevent that free radical damage. At nighttime, because Circadia is all about the circadian rhythms of the body. So what our body's doing in the morning and what our body's doing at night. At night, that Nighttime Repair Plus and that vitamin A boosting cream are then going to regenerate the effects of that vitamin C and turn it into something that then helps to build your fibroblast cells. It helps to increase the collagen and elastin in the skin. So using vitamin C at different points in the day is going to do completely different things for your body. The bright white serum has to be used at nighttime because of its rescorsenol in it. So it's photosensitizing. So we're always going to be using that at nighttime anyway. When it comes to best advice, or basically what is your most efficient combo with Circadia products? So the thing is, that's a very general question for pigmentation. If we're talking about PIH, which is a post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, a list of everything that I mentioned in the beginning of this video is going to be important. But my best advice for ethnic skin, again, is working with the skin, not against it. Slow and steady will win the race. I can do anything except for IPL and maybe a couple of things, but I pretty much can do anything to my skin and it will be okay because I'm prepped year round. I'm constantly using these tyrosinase inhibitors. I can microneedle myself tomorrow. I can even get a chemical peel while still using my vitamin A because my skin is prepped. Now, I wouldn't do that on your clients, but I can do that on myself. So I've literally done a Mandela Clear while using vitamin A boosting cream almost every single day up until my treatment, but that's because I know my skin and I know what I can tolerate, and I have clearly great results from using Circadia products. So when it comes to treating ethnic skin, again, learning their lifestyle, fixing their mindset around using sunscreen and using professional products, period, because we would be, I'd be remorse to say that society doesn't have to do with how people of color view skincare in this industry and in our society, and then slow and steady. That's really it. It's a simple combination. Your cell is going to do, your melanocyte cell is going to do what it does all the time, unless it becomes damaged. And how do we prevent that damage? Using vitamin A and using sunscreen. So it's really more about learning ingredients that skin of color can benefit from, than from it being like such a difference in how we treat it, you know? Because I don't care if I have a fit one that walks through my door, you're still getting the slow and steady approach. I'm not going in and blasting your skin with anything, because that's not really our job as estheticians. Like your body will fix itself. It is so intelligent. Our skin cells are so intelligent. That's why we have DNA. It's literally a blueprint for your cells, every cell in your body, to know what to do all the time. But we want to make sure that we're doing is always increasing the communication between the cells and the cells, which we've got our cytocom serum literally for that purpose. We want to make sure that we're giving it the support that it needs, which means hydration. Again, your skin will heal itself beautifully when it's hydrated. And we want to make sure we're keeping it out of the sun. Like, I don't know how to break it down more simple than that, but you know, it really is a mindset thing. Don't be afraid. If you're scared, just, you know, err on the side of caution. That's my best recommendation. Like, just start as gentle as you can and then work your way up. But if you try to go in and do 3 layers of Mandela Clear, 3 layers of vitamin A peel, and you've never once touched this client and you've never once seen what they're using at home, then obviously you're going to have issues. And that's what we keep finding when you guys are seeing on social media, all these really crazy chemical peel stories or these crazy laser stories of these clients. They clearly were not prepped. like visibly and clearly were not prepped, or they weren't given proper home care instructions. So that's an error on the side of their esthetician, but it also could be a user error as well. So getting to know your client, I have clients that I will never, ever, ever do a chemical peel on because I know they won't listen. But that's because I'm all up in my client's business. I know every single thing about their lives, every single thing about them. So I'll know they'll beg me for it and I'll say no. So what are we going to do? We're going to do a series of gel peels and enzymes and hydrofacials in the treatment room. But I'm sorry, you can't get a chemical peel if you haven't purchased all of the home care for it, or if you're not going to listen and follow the instructions. You have to be an ethical esthetician and understand when to say no to some people as well, because not everybody's going to be your client, and you don't want to put yourself in a predicament where you are now having adverse reactions when you had the intelligence to know how to create a routine for them, but they didn't listen. So always protect yourself too. I had ethnic clients concerned about wearing sunscreen or certain strengths of sunscreen. What would you advise? Okay, so when it comes to strengths of sunscreens, it really doesn't matter that much once you get above 30. What matters the most is a reapplication. If you're not following me on Instagram, I just posted a story yesterday. They did in a blue light, I don't know, I don't think it was a Vizia, but it was something like a skin analysis machine. She did a full layer of mineral sunscreen application, and then she showed it 2 hours later and how it disappears. So basically what happens with chemical sunscreens is it absorbs the UV rays, it holds it, and then it slowly disperses it into the skin. Circadia's sunscreen is at a 37 because of our Solastay ingredients, a photostabilizer. So essentially it's like a second net for the UV rays. So it gets the UV rays, and then that Solastay captures it again and then slowly disperses it. So it's dispersing less of the energy into the skin. Now, over time, those avobenzo, all the different chemical ingredients, they can only hold so much energy before they become inefficient. So that's why reapplying sunscreen is so important, coupled with the fact that we sweat and we touch our face and we rub stuff off of our face all the time. So you always want to make sure that you're telling your clients how important it is to reapply their sunscreen. We actually are coming out with a chemical sunscreen. I was like the first person to try it when Michael formulated it. So that was really exciting, and he's tweaked it a lot since then. But Circadia will have a mineral sunscreen, because I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. If you're treating PIH and skin of color, mineral sunscreens are going to be more effective, because at the end of the day, that energy is still going to be in the body with a chemical sunscreen, and it's still going to cause that heat and that inflammation, which will trigger your cells. So we are coming out with, hopefully it will launch soon. It's been ready for a while, so hopefully it will launch soon, but we are going to come out with a mineral sunscreen that has an invisible style of zinc. So it will be good for clients of color as well. But wearing sunscreen in general, all you have to do is tell them, yes, melanin does give you a certain level of extra protection, but it's not enough. It's not going to suffice for the long run. So you need that additional support, because it's not only, again, the appearance of the pigmentation that we're worried about, it's the inflammation and it's your dermal layer that we're trying to protect, because those UVA rays, those UVB rays are going to penetrate through the epidermis regardless. So we want to make sure that we are preventing cancer from happening as well. So it's not just the appearance of pigmentation in the skin, it's literally the DNA of your cells that we need to protect as well. Am I familiar with black skin? I'm not familiar with that book, but I will definitely look it up. Did you make any lifestyle changes like diet? Oh, well, yeah, I had to, because sorry, I'm definitely digressing right now. Bear with me. I have horrible ADD. But I definitely made lifestyle changes, but mostly because of my acne, really, more than anything. My skin is extremely acneic. So I had to get rid of my dairy, which I still do it occasionally, but I've been on mostly non-dairy products for a very long time now. Stress is a huge trigger for your hormones, which will cause inflammation in your skin. So I had to cut a lot of people out of my life who were stressing me out. And also, fall back on work. I was overworking myself, which was causing me to stress, which will also raise your cortisol levels, which will also make you produce more sebum. So I was sweating and oily all over the place. And diet-wise, just staying away from inflammatory ingredients, biotin, A lot of vitamin Bs are kind of dangerous for acneic skin, and as well as pigmentation. So yeah, you definitely have to make lifestyles. That's why I said it's important to talk to your clients about their lifestyle, because that will matter when you're creating a regimen for them and wondering why it's not going to work. Protocol for treating acne using Circadia products, which of course is the root of PIH for a lot of clients. Yeah, so okay, I will come back to that product, because that's going to take me a minute to go through. What is your best treatment recommendation for PIE? Our Mandeli Clear works beautifully for post-inflammatory erythema. I've had a lot of success with that. I do the full 3 layers. That will help to remove it. And again, a lot of people, you have to learn to identify PIE versus general erythema. It's not the same. It'll usually appear in like small little circles or clusters of circles of redness around the skin, usually from acne scarring. That will be kind of the cause of that. But yeah, mixture of microneedling and our Mandeli Clear is like chef's kiss if you can do that.
Somebody also asked about dark circles. What do you recommend? What Circadia products do you recommend for dark circles?
Do you mean dark circles around the eye, or like, okay, so treating the eye is a little tricky, because we don't have sebaceous glands like all under our eyes. So it stays dehydrated most of the time. So keeping this hydrated under the eye is going to be super important. We also have our full circle day and night eye repair, which is great because the morning has a form of vitamin C, which will help to brighten the eye. But the nighttime one has 0.1% vitamin A and an ingredient called eyeless, which helps to decrease the fluid buildup in the skin, which will cause that puffiness and that darkness. So the full circle eye is absolutely great for that, but really keeping the skin hydrated. And I like to I have under eye rollers that they look like mini face cold rollers, but they're miniature, or you could use a cold spoon, keeping it cold compresses around the eye. Also making sure you're getting sleep. I don't play about my sleep. I get my 8 hours no matter how. So yeah, making sure they're getting levels of sleep. Another thing, allergies. On your intake form, always ask about allergies, because I can immediately tell when somebody has seasonal allergies because they go like this, and I'm guilty of it as well. So a lot of times they'll rub their eye to the point that they just dried it out so much and caused so much trauma around it that it might not be able to be fixed. But if they have something that's appearing more of like a bluish, reddish tint under their eye, getting PRP is really the only thing that will help with that. PRP is an injection where they remove your blood, spin it in a centrifuge, and they inject the platelet-rich plasma back under your eye. That's really the only thing that will help. We can't be afraid to say no when it's so this comment says we can't be afraid to say no when we know it's in the best interest for their skin and our best interest for our reputation and license. So yeah, absolutely. If your client pigmentation or kind of color is saying like, I don't believe in wearing sunscreen, either you're going to have a really honest conversation with them, or you're going to tell them that you can't work with them. Like, really just protect yourself at all costs, because a lot of times what's giving our industry a bad rep is people who try to push past that, and they keep doing things knowing damn well that they're, excuse my French, that their clients are not listening. So yeah, please be careful with that.
And then I try to put your Instagram.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
For sunscreen, as it relates to clients with PIH, would you recommend mineral sunscreen for the face and chemical sunscreen for the body? Okay, so here's my take on that. Again, if it's PIH, yes, mineral sunscreen is going to be superior. Any sunscreen, period. Like, if you can just get them to start wearing sunscreen, that's going to be the first point. If they're wearing mineral and still not reapplying it, we're not really getting anywhere. And the best Instagram meme I saw was when somebody said, "Oh, you think sun doesn't reach you when you're indoors? Tell that to your thriving houseplants." I thought that was like the best analogy. So I share that all the time now. I'm like, if your plants are thriving and they're all the way against your wall, not near your window, you really think that you're not getting any UV exposure anywhere in your house. Anytime your window is open, think about how far away the sun is, guys. Think about how far away the sun is, and we get all this bright light from it. And so, you know, that just tells you how strong UV is. And then for my clients, I give them the analogy, like, what do we treat cancer with? Radiation. We treat it with radiation because it has the ability to kill the cancerous cells. So what makes you think that radiation can't just harm perfectly functioning cells as well? And that usually clicks with them the most. So I love analogies. You have to be able to break down. I'm talking to you all as estheticians, but you have to be able to deliver this message to your clients who don't have the same level of knowledge that we have, or the same level of terminology. So really talking to your peers, if you're in school, talking to your classmates, but really talking to your peers and maybe like a family member about this stuff on the regular will help you develop the dialogue and the language that you need to use to confidently retail to your clients. Because again, if you have a client of color, if you're not giving them home care, you're again not going to get anywhere. So you have to feel really confident in explaining why each step, why they need 4 products, why they need 5 products, why they need the more advanced service. You have to feel very confident in delivering that message to them. So as far as the body, Michael's like, if you want to sell them the back bar size, you could sell them the back bar size of the light day sunscreen, but you know, it doesn't really matter so much on your, because our body's usually protected with clothing of some sort. So as long as they're wearing sunscreen, period, it could be mineral or chemical when it comes to the body. The Circadia products you mentioned for pigmentation, I'm assuming are safe while treating acne, skin cystic acne, in terms of no clogging ingredients or creating more inflammation to help protect the skin from creating PIE, PIH during the healing process of acne. Yes. So acne, again, needs that exfoliation and it needs that hydration of the skin. So as long as your clients aren't drying out their skin using Paula's Choice BHA toner that everybody freaking uses and using the peel from The Ordinary, I make my clients send me a picture of their products. I literally say, bring me a picture, put it all in a lineup. And again, if it's a budget issue, we'll start with replacing 1 or 2 products, and then I'll eventually get them on a full routine. Or sometimes I might be able to just explain to them why none of their products are working. And then always ask your clients, how do you feel about their products? Because if they're coming to you, they clearly don't like their products that much. So, just be honest with them. But yes, most of those products are safe for treating acne. The only thing that I would say is with the vitamin veil, I might not retail that to them. If you're using it in the treatment room, it's fine because you're removing it. But the vitamin veil is not going to be good for your cystic acne clients to use in home care. Again, the almond oil milk cleanser would be absolutely better for that because you get the antibacterial properties from the mandelic acid, and then you get the hydration from the lactic, and you also get the melanin suppressant from both of those ingredients. So it kind of hits all of those points. What are the 2-3 products that you recommend to clients on a budget? Okay, so the cleanser, it's 6 ounces, $40. If they're using the correct amount, that should absolutely last them possibly 3 months if they're not sharing it with somebody. You can retail our back bar cleansers to people too, which is way more cost effective. I started doing that, especially with the aquaporin and the vitamin C, because I can't keep that on my shelves. Like they run out so fast. So I started selling the back bar sizes of them, but $40 for a cleanser that will last 3 months. You do the math on that. The licorice and bearberry brightening mist is 4 ounces. I swear it takes me like 5 months to get through my thing, and it's like $32 or something like that. So sometimes having visual graphs of how long the product should last, the cost, and then breaking it down into how much they're actually spending per week or per month on the product can get people to ease up a little bit. So that my favorite lesson in aesthetic school, it sounds crazy, but was learning about consumer profiles and the different types of buyers that there are. So there's some people who you're really going to have to convince for some things. You've got those other clients that are just like, give me whatever, I don't care how much it costs. And then there's people like me who just want you to make logic sense out of it. If I'm going to spend the money, I just need to know why. So again, breaking that down may help your clients be like, okay, I understand the value in investing. And then I'd probably say, the light day sunscreen, because that is also hydrating as well as the UV protection. We like to call it an anti-aging day cream with UV protection. So they don't necessarily need to wear a moisturizer in the morning. So that's a simple 3-step routine. They're getting hydration, exfoliation, tyrosinase inhibitors. They're getting more hydration. They're getting brightening for their skin, and they're getting moisture and the UV protection. So that together would be, let's see, 72, 57, 9, like $130 something ish for products that should last them 3 to 4 months. How can we get samples to try out Circadia? So you would need to contact a rep for that. I'm not a rep, I'm just an educator, but you can contact circadia.com or info@circadia.com, and they can get in touch with that. Circadia is like the most generous company that I've ever worked with. Like so when I first signed up with them, I made them give me everything. I was like, I need the education, I need the samples, and the reps there are truly, truly amazing. They all work in-house. There's no middleman. So, you know, they're in the same space that the owner is in right next door. So they're always willing to help and work with you guys. We also retail sample sizes as well of the products. So sometimes, like, I created my own little pre-peel kit with samples, and I include it in the price of my service. So that way they have to get those products. They will absolutely fall in love with them, and then they will absolutely buy the full size. I can like guarantee, I've been doing this for a while. I have a very successful 6-figure profiting business. Like, they will buy the products, and retail is about 30% of my profit. So make sure that you guys are retailing all the time. All right, I think I
believe we have a discount code too.
Yes, you guys got a 10% discount code too. Maria will send that, so that's going to be even better. We have no minimum opening order, so you can buy as little or as much as you want to start. And trade shows are a wonderful place to purchase because we do 20% off if you spend over 500. So if you come with your Esty Bestie, you two can do an order together, 250 each, and get 20% off. So definitely, and we run sales all the time. We also have partnership tiers. So if you spend a certain amount a quarter, you get money back. You can use it on back bar and retail size products, which is great too. So yeah, there's just endless options and support from this company. Okay, sorry, digressed a lot. Let's get back to this protocol. So we were left off at exfoliation. So I was talking about the lactic gel peels. The lactic peels are safe for year-round use. So you can use them summertime, wintertime. You can use them in combination with the enzymes as well in one treatment. So you could maybe leave one of the enzymes on for 5 minutes and then do the peel for 5 minutes. Why? Because again, the different types of exfoliation are denaturing different proteins in the skin. Our skin is made up of a bunch of different proteins. So we want to get that surface exfoliation, and then we want to start to loosen up that mortar with the gel peel. If it's an advanced client who's been with you for a while, you can just go straight into the gel peel if that's what you want to do. And then for finishing, so we've done the exfoliation, and now we're going to talk about our masks. So we've got a bunch of functional masks, I guess we can call them, that have enzymes, that have acids, that are just pure hydrating, pure calming. So really, depending on what else you're treating, that's the mask you're going to grab. So our Australian Superberry mask also has lactic and mandelic in it. So there's a lot of cool ways you can use that. You could put the almond oil milk cleanser in there to boost it to a higher percentage of the mandelic and the lactic. You could also do our lactic gel peel in with the Australian Superberry mask if you have a client that needs that antioxidant support in their skin, or again, if you just want to boost the strength of that, because then the gel peel is only lactic, so you'll get the mandelic as well if you cocktail the mask together. So that's great for acne, like chef's kiss for acne. You could also put it in our caviar lime mask, which uses caviar. It's not caviar and then lime, it's a caviar lime, which is sort of a natural form of an AHA. So my work wife, Chris, calls it her JLo Glow Mask because you just get a beautiful surface exfoliation from that one and hydration. You could finish with a marshmallow hydrating lip mask if your client is dry or dehydrated and you need to rebalance that moisture. Our snow algae and spirulina cooling mask is wonderful, especially if you had an acneic client that you did a lot of extractions on. I love to cocktail that with the Superberry mask if I'm treating acne. Specifically my clients of color, because I'm getting that brightening, but I'm also calming the inflammation down, which kind of goes back to that one comment about treating acne and inflammation. So one product that we didn't put on here that is my holy grail is our Chronocalm. Chronocalm, I want to bathe in that stuff. It is so good. So as I said way earlier in this live, inflammation is the root of all evil in our skin when it comes to cosmetic appearance of the skin. What inflammation is not, though, it's not a bad thing. It's how our body heals itself. It's how our body protects itself. So we tend to villainize inflammation in the aesthetic industry because of what happens after, which is typically that PIH or that PIE. But it's such a beautiful process because our body has the ability to heal itself. So when you break a bone, what happens? You get inflamed in that area. When you hurt something, it inflames itself in that area. It's kind of like creating bubble wrap around whatever the issue is. So if you have an acne client that has experienced inflammation, that blemish, that pustule, that papule, whatever it is already at the end of its journey. Your body's already started to send all the things that it needs to send to that area to start to heal it. What we want to do is we don't want it to get to the point where it's getting inflamed. So with acne, the issue is all of their cells are not coming to the surface to shed. They're shedding into the hair follicle. So then with that, and then mixed with the fact that they're producing oil from their sebaceous gland, which is connected to your hair follicle, now we've got a mixture of dead skin cells that didn't go off the surface that went into the hair follicle mixed with oil buildup. So what that does is it creates an anaerobic environment. Bacteria loves lack of oxygen, thrives in oxygen depleted environments. So when we're closing off that follicle, when we're preventing oxygen from being able to get into that follicle, we're literally creating a thriving environment for your P. acne bacteria, which resides at the bottom of your hair follicle. So, which is also connected to your blood vessels. So then what happens is all your white blood cells start rushing to that area because they think there's an infection in the skin. So then your body creates this healing cascade, which then creates that inflammation, and that thing starts to swell up like this. So then literally we're treating a bunch of different things. We're treating the bacteria, we're treating the inflammation, and we're trying to treat the PIH all at once. If your clients are on the right home care, I tell all of my acne clients to treat their home care like medication. Like if you're taking birth control, you have to take it every single day at the same time. You miss that one day, it's gonna start an issue. You gotta redo the whole process. So with your acne clients, they need to be treating their home care like birth control. They need to use it every single day, because if we're preventing that congestion in the follicle, if we're helping to kill some of that P. acne bacteria with our oxygen RX treatment, or just by making sure we're exfoliating our skin properly so that dead cells aren't in it, then you shouldn't have much of a problem. So vitamin A as some sort of exfoliant mixed with the Chronocalm is going to be a beautiful combination for helping to prevent PIH in clients of color who are experiencing acne. So we've got two products that are great for that. We've got our nighttime control, which is it's an encapsulated benzoyl peroxide. So that will help to decrease the level of bacteria and kill the bacteria in the skin, because we know peroxide is a form of oxygen. We use peroxide to, when we get cuts, to prevent the bacteria from getting in our oxygen RX system. It's a magnesium peroxide instead of a hydrogen peroxide. So that will help to kill the bacteria. And then the Chronocalm will help the inflammatory responses from triggering your melanocyte cell, because that's all it's doing. Your body's just doing what it's supposed to do. So it's going to wake up that cell. It's going to say, hey, we've got something going on. We don't know what it is. And that PIH is going to come after. So do not sleep on Chronocalm. I know a lot of people run to that for rosacea clients, for acne clients. It's great. I use it every single night. And then also the Serum 71, now that we have that product, because that has mandelic, tranexamic, azelaic acid. So we're getting that gentle exfoliation versus doing aggressive exfoliation on skin of color. So we can use that daily gentle exfoliation mixed with the beta glucan, which is also super calming for the skin, mixed with the copper peptide, the neodermal, which will help to repair the skin so you're not getting that acne scarring and the PIH. So Serum 71, Chronocalm, and licorice and bearberry, I would say, are my fighters for my PIH with my acne, as well as our spot.
Sounds like magic.
It's all magic. Like the products work. It's like I could get on a soapbox. Like I said, I started as an account and I just love this brand so much. I begged them to let me work with them. I love the education. I love the products. My clients love them. They're all really great price points. And they're just effective. They just work. So I could tell you a bunch of things, but until you guys actually get your hands on them yourself, you won't be able to see the magic that I have seen in the transformation that I've seen a lot of my clients. And then, okay, so back to our masks. So then we're masking. We've got the Australian Superberry, which I think is probably the best for treating pigmentation and skin of color. And then mixing that with the snow algae and spirulina cooling mask. And then most of our finishing products are pretty standard. Our vitamin C, maybe our aloe and calendula, or our blueberry and white tea hydrating mist, which are all great for calming the skin. And then, post peel and sunscreen. So you can find that protocol. Maria tagged the link for that. But again, we went through a lot of different things. We went through consultation, making sure that you're being honest with your client and developing that relationship. That's what's going to create them rebooking and them coming back. I've had, anytime I get a client, they almost never leave unless they move. Like I've had some of my clients book since before when I was in esthetician school. So once they build that trust with you and you can really talk to them as a human being, not just somebody who's trying to get a dollar from them, they're gonna love you, they're gonna believe you, and they're gonna stick with you. And then we talked about getting their lifestyle, understanding that you can't, it's not a one size fits all. We are not proactive. You know what I mean? We are a very customizable line. There's so many things that you can mix and replace in a client's current home care. So understanding their lifestyle and being able to confidently create a treatment plan for them for both at home and in the treatment room is all going to be based around what they're doing at home, because they're doing 80% of that damage outside of your treatment room, and you've got 20% to fix what they're doing. And understanding that they're not always going to listen to you. You know, you have to be realistic. We talked about working with the skin and not against it, just slowly integrating these more advanced modalities into your clients of color. You can't just start, you know, at level 10. You have to start them at level 1. Even if they tell you that they've been going to an esthetician for however long, I don't care. If you've never used a brand that I use, the products that I use, I'm starting you at level 1, and I'm going to be honest about it. We talked about the importance of home care that helps to facilitate all of the pigmentation pathways, not just the tyrosinase inhibitors. We need all the way through to when that pigment actually enters the cell, when it's in the cell, and then how do we get it up out of the skin? So the importance of vitamin A, the importance of keeping the skin hydrated during that process. We talked about having honest conversations when it comes to UV and sunscreen protection in clients of color. I could literally go on a whole soapbox about that too, but I'll save that for another day. But again, making sure you're having those honest conversations with them, saying, no, your melanin is not enough. And don't be scared either. If you're an esthetician who's not a person of color, you got to toughen up a little bit. You got to be confident, because they're coming to you because they think that you are an expert. So you can't let them bully you into keeping the same habits, because what we call insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So if they're hopping around from esthetician to esthetician because nobody's being honest with them and they're scared to have that conversation with them, they're not going to get the results they want. So making sure they understand, yes, your melanin is beautiful, your skin complexion is beautiful. However, and so we still need to do a little bit more work. You can't just walk around your face, or else you wouldn't be here with me in the first place. And then we talked about treatment room protocols. I kind of walked you through a little bit of one, and I helped to create this protocol that you guys got. So this is my knowledge. So go through it, take a look, reach out to Circadia.com or info@circadia.com, and there's tons of bundles. They created a discount code for you for 10% off. We do have sample size if you just need to start there, and then, you know, before you bring on all of the retail and back bar. Finding us at the trade shows. We'll be at the Vegas trade show. We'll be at Orlando in like a week or so, and then we'll be at the Vegas trade show. So definitely come and talk to us. We'll have all of the masks out so you can smell, feel, sample, and then we talked a little bit about just like, you know, your mindset as well as an esthetician when it comes to treating a client that might not look like you. So with that being said, I want to open this up because I only have a little bit more time. I want to open this up to any more Q&As or anything that you guys want to ask me in general.
You guys are welcome to turn on your mics, turn on your videos, or put it in the chats, because I'm sure there's a ton of questions. I know one of them was, what's an ideal prep series for a peel using Circadia products?
Yes. Okay. So for my clients prep, we have a pigmentation bundle essentially. So it's the Amendola, the licorice and bearberry brightening mist, the white veil brightener, the bright white serum, and the sunscreen. So those products alone, because we're introducing acid exfoliation into their skin. We're making sure their skin is properly hydrated. We're introducing a variety of tyrosinase inhibitors and melanin suppressants into their skincare. And then we're making sure that they have that UV protection so that we can introduce them to the chemical peels. With the peels, so I talked about the gel peel, our ethanol peel, our Mandela Clear. Michael created basically like a baby Jesner, if you will. Jesners are not safe for skin of color because of the high percentages of rescorsenol and salicylic acid. So we have like a half Jesner that has a mandelic in it as well. That is a beautiful, beautiful peel for skin of color. It's got salicylic, mandelic, lactic, and the rescorsenol. And then you can also do the vitamin A accelerator over top of that. So you almost get like a double layer peel with that. I usually will prep my skin of color clients for about a month before, because I want to make sure they actually are using. 2 weeks isn't enough time for me. That leaves too much time for, oh, I forgot to do my routine last night, or oh, I fell asleep and I didn't feel like doing it. So at least give me a full month of being on these products before we jump into any peels, and making sure that they understand that there is a downtime with peels. Yeah, so about a month, I'd say. If they're brand new, like never ever done anything, you might even want to stretch it out to 2 months, honestly, because not only will that give them time to use all their products, so they're really getting the benefits of them, but they'll start to notice a change in their skin and they will become a believer. Yeah, any other questions? I think I'm on Instagram, dropping_jewels. I put it in the chat, so you can always feel free to reach out to me via IG if you have any questions.
You mentioned Jesner as a high percentage of salicylic. What percentage is safe for
Skin of
skin?
color. So we've got a Dermafrost that has a Dermafrost that's about a 12.5. That one is safe for skin of color. I probably wouldn't go much higher than that. And that one I still am like, I will only do like 1 layer of that on myself every time.
You make it sound so exciting. I cannot wait to get into the treatment room today.
Oh my God. Yes, the alpha beta is absolutely safe. I just did that on a client the other day. Again, because it's a gel peel, so the longer you let it sit on the skin, the deeper the acids will work into the skin. Yeah, all of our peels except for the Dermafrost 25 and the Jesner are safe for clients of color. Notice skin of color is very smooth, delicate texture. What products does Circadia have that can build the skin? Is there a peptide product? I'm not sure what you mean by smooth, delicate texture, but Circadia uses peptides in almost all of their products. It's important to understand what you need from that peptide. So peptides are basically chains of amino acids. Our skin is that create proteins. So our skin is made up of all of those. So there's different types of peptides. Some of them are signaling peptides. Some of them are neurotransmitting inhibiting peptides. Some of them are brightening peptides. So it really depends on what you're trying to gain from that. But we do, the Serum 71 has the copper peptide in it. Dr. Pugliese actually did the first dermal testing on copper peptide in a punch biopsy. We've got the Cytocom, which is full of amino acids that help to build peptides. We've got our firming peptide mask. We've got peptides pretty much in all of our products. It depends on what the peptide does. Skin is fine and thin. I've actually never heard that. If their skin is fine and thin, that's probably a genetic thing more than a skin of color thing, because I've actually heard quite the opposite. Usually we have like thicker, more keratinized skin. But yeah, I mean, I would probably say if you're looking for that, like Cytocom and Serum 71 would be the best for that. Is a training book only available at the trade shows? Pretty much all of our resources are online, so you can find that in a PDF form, circadia.com/the resources. And Circadia U is free, you guys, so please sign up. If you have a hydrofacial, I do all of our advanced hydrofacial modules on Circadia U, so I can talk a little bit about how some of our boosters help with pigmentation as well, specifically our Protect booster is really, really great for that.
Yeah, if you guys aren't, I mean, Circadia U is free. If you want to learn about the products, like there's so much information. They even have a booty one on there.
Oh yeah, better booty facial. Oh, intimate brightening. How did I forget to talk about that? So we did come up with an intimate brightening protocol. Some of your clients of color experience extremely dark pigmentation under their arms and in their private areas due to shaving and lack of knowledge around hair removal for most of our lives. So the same products that I talked about in the protocol that we wrote can also be used on the intimate areas as well. I do the lactic gel peel in my thighs all the time. And you don't have to prep your body skin as long as you do your facial skin. I usually, well, like I said, I'm prepped all the time, but maybe like if you're preparing somebody for an intimate brightening, give them about 2 weeks. Oh, thank you so much, Gabby. Appreciate that. There's so many of you on here. Anybody else have any questions? Can I use the Circadia products and red LED therapy together, or should I do LED? I always finish with LED. I like to do it after I put on my products, or unless I did a lot of extractions and I really need to calm the skin down quickly, I'll do it directly after extractions. Now, LED, if any of you have LED, listen to this. You need to make sure that you understand the type of light that is emitting from your LED. If you have an LED that's emitting red light and infrared light at the same time, which some devices do, not all devices do. I have a light wave and I have a light stim. My light wave, I get control over whether I want the infrared to run, but I believe with my light stim, the infrared does run at the same time as the red. That is heat. So if you just did a peel on your client, if you just did a gel peel, do not leave it on for the full 30 minutes because you're going to be introducing heat into their skin after you just exfoliated it, which can cause hyperpigmentation. So sometimes LED isn't the best for treating pigmentation if you're running that infrared, which is a deeper wavelength into the skin. I will typically err on using blue light if I absolutely need to calm the skin down versus using infrared. So I like to put on like our licorice and this. I usually cocktail our licorice and blueberry together, put that on, and then I'll sit them under the LED for a couple minutes and then send them on their way. Any other questions before I hop off? I just wanted to confirm that these peels are also effective for the body. Sometimes I have clients with discomfort. Okay, so body peels, yes. Underarm, using an ethanol, I would not, because if your skin gets moist after the peel, it will reactivate the acid. So I tend to stay away from ethanol peels under the arm because we usually just sweat all the time. But you definitely can use the gel peel under the arm area. And then if it's booty, back, knee size, you can absolutely do the ethanol peels on those areas. Just make sure your clients are wearing loose clothing and not creating friction on there after, because that will create pigmentation as well. Oh my gosh, post peel balm, I use that every day. That's like my jam. Like I literally am working on getting Michael to change the name of a lot of our products because I think people just don't know how to use them. Post peel originally was formulated to be post peel, but it is such a wonderful calming moisturizer, extremely hydrating for the winter months because I live in Philly, so I deal with super dry air all the time. But I use it for slugging. I use it just when I want a nice glazed donut face, if you will. But yeah, post peel balm is incredible. You can absolutely use that as a more occlusive moisturizer for your drier clients or clients who you're in the middle of repairing their barrier. And then once you've repaired it, you can switch them over to any of our other moisturizers. For a vajacial, you can use the same exact protocol that I put in or that Maria put in the chat. If you want to ixnay the enzyme, that's fine. You can just go straight in with the lactic peel. Make sure you're not getting it in the labia, only on the top. Great.
So this is already pinned to the top of the group. I'm also going to be sending out the PDF with the reporting in newsletter, which I put the link. I'm also going to include your links, the discount code. Is there anything else you would like me to add, or is there anything else anybody else wants me to add?
If you guys, like I said, hit me up on IG if you guys have any questions. I know like you might not be able to think of it because I just unloaded a lot of information, but if you need me to revisit anything, or if you just want to like pick my brain a little bit more, hit me up.
Oh my God, this was so informative.
I put my Instagram in the chat. I'll write it again.
If you guys want the replay like right now, if you go to the group, which is the money making, it's already pinned to the top of the group.
All right, everybody. Well, I hope this was informative. I hope you learned something. Like I said, I know I offloaded a lot and I had to go pretty quickly, but please, if you come to the trade show, please attend one of Michael's pigmentation classes. He goes into what I said in like way more depth. Yeah, and then it'll make sure you stay tuned to Circadia U because we'll probably be uploading more treating skin of color modules. It was so nice being here with you all today.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.